The next step in implementing our data model here inside of SQL Server Management Studio is to establish the relationships between the tables we just made. To do that, I'm going to right-click on the child table in each of the relationships. In this case, I'm going to start with Invoices and choose Design from the pop-up menu. That'll bring us back into this design view that we were just in. From here, I'm going to press the Relationships button on the toolbar here. That'll open up the Foreign Key Relationships window. I'll come down to the bottom and press Add. And then over here where it says Tables and Columns Specification, I'll click there and click on this little Build button over here on the right. That'll bring us up a window where we can choose which fields are related in the relationship. The primary key table is going to be, in this case, the Customers table. And within the Customers table, we're going to make a relationship based off of the Customer ID. That's going to be related to the Customer ID field in the Invoices table. So I'll change this here to Customer ID. We'll go ahead and say OK to create that relationship, and then we'll go ahead and close this relationship screen here. We'll go ahead and close out the Invoices table, and we'll say yes to save any changes. Next, we need to create the relationships in the Line Items table. To do that, I'll right-click on Line Items, I'll go to Design, and once again, I'll press the Relationships button here on the toolbar. Here we're going to add two relationships, one to the Invoices table and one to the Products table. We'll create the first one by pressing the Add button. And right over here in Tables and Columns Specifications, I'll click Build again. This time we're going to make a relationship to the Invoices table. So I'll choose that, and the field within the Invoices table is going to be the Invoice ID. Over here in the Foreign Key table, the Line Items table, it's going to be linked to the Invoice ID as well. So we'll choose that from the list, and we'll make this one None. Go ahead and say OK. That'll create the first relationship. Now we need to create a relationship to the Products table. Once again, I'll press Add. We'll go over here and click this little Builder button. This time we're going to link to the Products table here. The field within the Products table is going to be Product ID. And the related field in the Line Items table will also be called Product ID. We'll make this line item number None as well. And go ahead and say OK. That creates the two relationships to our Line Items table. We'll go ahead and say Close here. And once again, I'll close the table. And I'll say yes to any prompts to save my changes. Now we can go through and start adding data into our data tables. I'm not going to fill in all of the records here, but I'm just going to do a few. We'll go ahead and right-click on Customers and choose Edit Top 200 Rows. That will allow me to edit some data. Now I can go in here and start filling in the values for a customer. Notice that the Customer ID field is grayed out. I can't type a value in here because this is an auto-incrementing number. This is that serial number that's going to get generated by the system. So I'll come over here to the first name and click there, and I'm going to type in Michelle. I'll press Tab to go to the last name field, and I'll type in her last name is Booker. We'll keep tabbing over. The address is 195 Shadow Hill Square. Press Tab again to go to the billing city of Chester. We'll press Tab and fill in the billing state of California. I'm actually going to add in a third character here. Remember, one of our constraints was that this field would only store 2 characters, so this should generate an error when it tries to save this to the data tables. We'll move over one more into billing zip and type in 96020. Now, you might be wondering what all these exclamation marks mean. These all mean that this particular record has not been added to the data table yet. When I click down to the next record, I'm actually going to get an error message saying that this data was not entered into the database because I have a conflict. We'll go ahead and say Escape to get out of this window, and I'll fix this conflict up here. The CA should just be 2 letters. Now if I click onto the next record, it should identify the new customer ID number here, and it's established that these records are all been entered into the data table. Let's go ahead and keep in mind that Michelle Booker is customer ID number 3 here, and we'll make use of that in the Invoices table. Let's go ahead and close Customers. I'll come over here, I'll right-click on Invoices, and I'll come down to Edit Top 200 Rows. Now we're going to fill out an invoice for Michelle. The invoice ID, again, can't be filled in, so I'm going to go over here to the invoice date, and we'll type in today's date, 4/1/2014. We'll come over here to the customer ID, and I'll type in Michelle's customer ID, which is 3. And from the method of payment, I'll type in credit card. We'll go ahead and press Enter, and those values get saved to the database. So that's how you can start entering in data to the data tables that we just created.